95.7, The Game.
Fun, wasn't it? Warriors knock off the Celtics in Boston, 118-112. It's Warriors wrap up here on 95.7 The Game. Mark Grandy with you. How does this sound? The Warriors 7-1 on the season. They're 5-0 on the road, and they just knocked off the defending NBA champions, who less than a year ago beat the Warriors on this same floor by 52 points. And now the Warriors go into Boston with a lot of talk and drama surrounding this basketball game because of what happened in Paris over the summer on Team USA. And the Warriors quiet the Boston crowd. They win 118-112. It's Boston's first loss at home this year, only their third home game. They're now 2-1 at home, but they were 7-1 overall entering this game. Now they're 7-2 as the Warriors hand them their first loss at home of the 24-25 season, and they did it in really, really fun fashion. 118-112 is the final score. Again, it's Mark Randy with you here on Warriors Wrap Up. It is awesome to be with you once again. Want to hear from you guys all night long on Warriors Wrap Up as we react to by far the best Warriors win of the season, 118-112 over the defending champions on the road. And you can join the conversation right now by shooting me a text, 888-957-9570. That comes courtesy of the Comcast Business text line, but we're also taking your calls, 888-957-9570. Get your calls in. We will get to you before the night is over. Well, it's pretty simple, right? I mean, the Warriors 6-1 entering tonight. Great start. No one is going to be upset by a 6-1 start. You might be frustrated by that one loss and the way that it happened to a shorthanded Clippers team, but hey, you took care of business against everybody else. 6-1, including perfect on the road. But all the non-believers, right? The non-Warriors believers, what did they say through 7 games for the Golden State Warriors? Well, really, who have you beaten, right? You haven't beaten anybody that good. Portland, they're probably trying to lose more than win. The Utah Jazz, they got a couple of quality players, but they're not a very good basketball team either. You lost to the Clippers at home. Okay, that's whatever. You probably should have won that game, but, things happen. You beat the New Orleans Pelicans in consecutive games at home when they were down half their roster the second night. Okay, you took care of business, but those are maybe games that you should win. However, Steph Curry was also out both those games. Andrew Wiggins out both those games. DeAnthony Melton out both those games, and he still hasn't returned yet, although maybe he plays on Friday in Cleveland. We will have to wait and see on that one. Then you go on the road. You do blow a 30-point lead against the Rockets, but you come back and win that game in overtime on the road. And then, most recently, before tonight, you beat Jordan Poole and company in D.C. in what was a game you led for the majority of the way, but it was never really a blowout. But you took care of business and you won. Impressive. 6-1 start. No doubt about that. But who have you beaten? Well, you know what? After tonight, you can't say that anymore. No one can say, yeah, nice, cute little start, Golden State, but who have you beaten? Because tonight the Warriors go into the defending champions' home court, and they knock them off. Final score 118-112. And this was a game where the Warriors started very, very slow. They were down 14-3 early. The Warriors could not buy a bucket. They were 1 for 11 from the field to begin this basketball game. And it looked like it was going to be an ugly game offensively. Even though the Warriors were down by 11, it's not like the Celtics were just tearing the cover off the ball. They couldn't score really consistently either. It was just the Warriors could not buy themselves a bucket at all early in this basketball game. Then they started to figure things out. They eventually built an 11-point lead going into halftime on the backs of really balanced scoring offensively. But the story of the first half was the Warriors' defense. They held the Celtics to 40 points in the first half. 40 points in the first half. Boston was just 13 for 37 in the first 24 minutes. They committed 10 turnovers in the first half. And honestly, if we're thinking about takeaways from this game, One of them for me, and the second half is a little bit of a different story, and we'll get there. But the takeaway for me, for the Warriors on the defensive side of the ball, this team is good enough defensively that they can keep them in games when their offense is not working. It was not working for the majority of that first half, especially very early in the first quarter. And yeah, they got down by 11, but if the defense was having an off night, that would have been a 20-point deficit within the first 7 minutes of this basketball game. That's how bad it was for the Warriors offensively. But the defense buckled in. Andrew Wiggins and what he did on Jason Tatum in that first half was absolutely incredible. Tatum got it going in the third quarter when the Celtics scored 41 points. They had 40 points at half, 41 points in the third quarter. But at halftime, Jason Tatum really wasn't doing anything. In fact, I have the numbers here for you. In just the first half for the Boston Celtics and Jason Tatum, Tatum had 8 points on 2 of 7 shooting in the first half, and that was for the majority of his time on the court. He was guarded by Andrew Wiggins. Wiggins was amazing defensively on Jason Tatum, and he had himself a pretty good basketball game on the other end as well. He had 16 points, had a couple of rebounds as well. 6 for 14 from the field, not the most efficient night, but when you're expending as much energy as he did on the defensive end, you'll take it. He also made some clutch free throws down the stretch and helped the Warriors hang on and win the basketball game. Andrew Wiggins was awesome in this basketball game. And then the Warriors built that lead going into halftime, as we talked about. 51-40 was the score at the halftime break. And then things kind of got off the rails in the third quarter. And I don't know where your guys' mind goes, but watching this basketball game tonight, Warriors struggle early. They fight back. They take a double-digit lead going into the second half on the road against the defending champs. And I think I have, the last 2 years in the back of my mind. And then when you see that other team make that run, they throw their punch and they take the lead back. With a 41-point third quarter, the Celtics take the lead back. Thinking about what would happen last year, thinking about what would happen 2 years ago when the Warriors were in that situation, it feels like they almost never won that basketball game. These scenarios where they play really well for a half, they play really well for 2.5 quarters, they play really well for 3 quarters against a really, really good basketball team, and then the opposing team takes it serious a little bit. They throw their punch back, they take a lead, and ultimately they win by 12 points. And it kind of, one bad quarter erased 3 really good quarters for the Warriors. That happened so many times last year and a couple of years ago. So that was in the back of, in the back of my mind watching this basketball game tonight, was how were the Warriors going to respond to the punch the Celtics threw? And the Warriors responded in amazing fashion. How about this? So Celtics throw their punch. They take their lead back in the second half. Ultimately, they build a 7-point lead in the fourth quarter. It was 95-88 Boston with 6:45 left in the fourth. Steve Kerr called the timeout, and shortly before that, he got Steph Curry and company back into the basketball game. That was the moment where this game turned. Down 7, 95-88. With 6:45 left in the fourth quarter, what happens? The Warriors close the game on a 30-17 run. On a 30-17 run in the final 6:45. First of all, 30 points in less than 7 minutes of basketball, that's an awesome number. The Warriors' offense was clicking, but they did it in a number of different ways. Stephen Curry scored 10 of those 30 in the final 6:45. Andrew Wiggins had 6 points in that stretch. Buddy Hield had 5, including, the Steph Curry push in the fast break to Buddy Hield, right wing 3-pointer, to push the lead to 7 with under a minute to go. That was just chef's kiss. And it's what this Warriors team has so desperately longed for, in another shooter to pair alongside Steph Curry and Draymond Green. Kevon Looney, unsung hero of this Warriors season so far. Kevon Looney has almost single-handedly won the Warriors a couple of basketball games. Kevon Looney had consecutive offensive rebound putbacks down the stretch of this basketball game. The Warriors do not win without Kevon Looney and what he did tonight. Looney had just 6 points, but 4 of them were in the fourth quarter, and they both came on offensive rebound putbacks. He also had 10 rebounds in this basketball game. Kevon Looney was phenomenal. Draymond Green made 3 of 4 free throws down the stretch to help ice the basketball game, and Kyle Anderson put the finishing touches on with 2 more free throws. So the Warriors' 30-17 run over the final 6:45, Curry had 10 of them. Wiggins had 6. Hield had 5. Looney had 4. Draymond had 3. Anderson had 2. Obviously, it's the superstardom of Stephen Curry, and that's going to shine through 95% of the time, and he will generally be the driving force behind Warrior wins like this. But you also saw strength in numbers. Strength in numbers for the Warriors, and honestly, it might be easier to see how deep this team is when they have some nagging injuries, like D'Anthony Melton, still unable to go. We will find out potentially tomorrow, or maybe we'll have to wait until Friday, day of the game, to see if he'll play in Cleveland against the Cavaliers. But you didn't have him. Podziemski still dealing with the illness that took him out of the second half in Washington on Monday. So you're down 2 rotation guys. You're still playing 11. Lindy Waters played 13, nearly 14 minutes. And, I mean, the Golden State Warriors still played 11, and everyone impacted this basketball game tonight. I mean, we got to talk about Buddy Hield. Buddy Hield was awesome again in this game. 16 points, 6 of 11 from the field, 4 for 7 from downtown, 6 rebounds, and he was a plus 20 in a game in which the Warriors won by 6. Plus 20 in a game the Warriors won by 6. When he's on the floor, good things are happening for the Golden State Warriors. He had a sick fast break reverse layup on a steal from Stephen Curry. He hit the 3-pointer on the right wing that put the Warriors up by 7 with like 40-plus seconds to go in the basketball game. Buddy Hield is coming up clutch, and he has been one of the Warriors' most important basketball players in the first 8 games of this basketball season. How fun was that basketball game tonight? No longer can anybody use the phrase, who have they played? You can't use that argument against this Warriors basketball team anymore. The way they responded to the Celtics punch, and it was a hell of a Celtics punch. I mean, you know the Celtics wanted to win this basketball game. You know they wanted to win this basketball game, no doubt. I mean, there was all the talk about Jason Tatum and what happened this summer across the pond in France at the Paris Olympics when, first of all, Steve Kerr and Team USA did not even choose Jaylen Brown to be on the team after he won Finals MVP. 2, Jason Tatum was on the team and was relatively consistently, including in the biggest moments, left off the court and left on the bench. And Celtics fans clearly did not forget about that. They let the Warriors and Steve Kerr hear it all night long. And there were many people within and close to the Celtics organization that talked about how Jason Tatum has had this game circled for quite a while. And Tatum finished with 32 points, 10 of 20 from the field, 5 of 10 from downtown. He was absolutely pitiful in the first half. Now, he came out blazing in the third quarter, 17 points in the third quarter. He was awesome in the second half, specifically in that third quarter. The point is, though, not about necessarily Tatum's performance, but about how badly the Celtics wanted to win this basketball game, right? Sometimes it's difficult when you are a team of the Celtics stature coming off of a championship early in the season. You're already 7-1. Sometimes it's hard to really gauge how much a team like that, quote unquote, cares about a basketball game that they're playing. And the Warriors have been through this so often, you know, back in their heyday, specifically in the Kevin Durant era. They could kind of sleepwalk through not just games, not just quarters, not just games, but sometimes like weeks of basketball because they were so talented and they had such a big lead on the division and on the conference and all that. That does not fit this basketball game. The Celtics desperately cared about winning this basketball game. And if you don't believe me, look at how they played in the third quarter. I mean, the third quarter, they came out and looked like an entirely different basketball team. I think some of it was the Warriors. The Warriors in that third quarter just kind of uncharacteristically refused to box out and rebound the ball. How about this? The Celtics had 20 second chance points in this basketball game. It was one of the only reasons they were in this game. 14 of them came in the third quarter. The Celtics had 0 second chance points in the first half, 14 in the third, and 6 in the fourth. Amazing. The Warriors just could not grab rebounds in the third quarter, and that was one of the main reasons why they put up 41 points, the Celtics did, in that third quarter, and it led to them getting back in the basketball game, erasing that 11-point halftime lead the Warriors had built, and eventually taking the lead. And they had a 7-point lead with 6:45 to go. Tatum was making it rain. Derek White was awesome in this basketball game. It felt like the Warriors couldn't really get a stop, and their offense, without Steph Curry in the game, was really kind of struggling. And then Steph Curry came back in. He got fouled on a 3, made all 3 free throws, followed it up with a 3-pointer himself. And then you got some help from Buddy Hield and Andrew Wiggins and Kevon Looney. And you buckled down defensively as well. This was an awesome performance for the Golden State Warriors. The 925 on the Comcast Business text line, Looney is back. He looks fit. He really does. He really does. This feels more like the Kevon Looney from the 2022 postseason when he consistently was grabbing 20 rebounds a night. And remember his performance, I think it was in the Game 6 closeout against the Grizzlies was that the second round of the postseason, when he grabbed 20 rebounds, including a stretch where I think he had like 2 or 3 offensive rebounds on the same possession, and he ultimately kicked it out to Klay Thompson for a 3 that kind of sealed the game. Like, Kevon Looney is consistently having moments and impacts on basketball games that remind me of the impact that he had on games back in 2022. And we talk so much, of course, about Steph and about Andrew Wiggins, who was so good during that postseason run. Same could be said for Kevon Looney. And specifically last year, Looney wasn't anywhere near as effective. He's back to that so far this year. I think also the 415 makes a good point. And this is something that I was talking about in terms of the old Warriors, last season's Warriors, 2 seasons ago's Warriors would have lost this game tonight once they got down by 7 with 6.5 to go. The 415 makes a good point as well. I'm 99% sure they would have lost the Rockets game last year as well. Yeah, I agree with you. Warriors build a 30-point lead, and ultimately they blow it and go to overtime. It feels like last year's Warriors team probably loses that game. I think you're right. I agree with you. 925, that's a really, the 415, that's a really good point. This Warriors team, it has a different feel, a different confidence, and a different, ability to weather storms like that. I think the Rockets are a quality basketball team. They're certainly not on the level of the Celtics, but that's a tough situation to try to correct yourself once you've struggled to the point where you lose a 30-point lead. So a lot of positive signs for the Golden State Warriors at the moment. All right, let's take a break here on Warriors Wrap-Up. When we come back, we will hear from Warriors head coach Steve Kerr. We will hear your calls as well. You can give me a call, 888-957-9570. It's Mark Randy with you on Warriors Wrap-Up. That's all coming up on the other side. The Warriors knock off the Celtics. 118-112 is the final score. Dubs victorious on the road in Boston. The Warriors now 7-1 on the season, and they're still perfect away from Chase Center. A perfect 5-0. And who have they beat now? Just the defending NBA champions. More on Warriors Wrap-Up. That's coming up next, right here on 95.7 The Game.
You okay?
Sorry, I can't sleep.
And that was Tim Roy calling one of four made three-pointers by Stephen Curry tonight. He finished with 27 points in this one. Also 7 rebounds, 9 assists. It was a little bit of a slow start, at least offensively, for Stephen Curry. But, man, he took over in the fourth quarter. 10 of his 27 in the fourth quarter. 21 of his 27 in the second half. He was very good down the stretch in this basketball game. And you could tell this game meant a lot to him as well. The way that he reacted to some of his made buckets. There was the one where he came driving down the lane on the left side, finished with a right-handed scoop on the right. And as he scored, first of all, he thought he should have been headed to the line for an and one opportunity. Did not get the whistle, but as the ball falls through the net, he is screaming and flexing on everybody there in Boston. And it kind of felt like some of the reactions he had in Game 4 or Game 6 of the NBA Finals when he was leading the Warriors to really big wins. This game meant a lot to everybody. We talked about what it means to the Celtics. Tatum, multiple people saying here on 95.7 The Game today that Tatum has had this game circled for quite a while. This game meant a lot to him because Steve Kerr did not play him a lot in the Summer Olympics in Paris. And if you think it didn't mean a lot to the Warriors either, how about this from Buddy Hield? He said post-game, when he was asked if this was a big, big win for the Golden State Warriors, Hield said, quote, "What do you think? It's a statement. If we don't win, everybody says, oh, they ain't played nobody. You got to come make a statement, right?" And that's exactly what the Warriors did. There was Steve Kerr yesterday on this very station, along with Willard and Dibbs, saying that people who are saying the Warriors haven't really proven or beaten anybody just yet, well, they're right. You haven't beaten anybody all that good. You could say what you want about the Pelicans, but they're down a number of really key players. The Rockets, they're a pretty good basketball team, but they're not world beaters. This Celtics team, though, the defending NBA champions, and the Warriors go into their building and they win 118-112. The final, and they're now 7-1 on the year. They're 5-0 away from home. And this is turning into an awesome, awesome road trip for the Golden State Warriors. Okay, we got a special guest to get to. We will hear from Steve Kerr coming up in just a little bit. But first, let's go out to the River Islands guest line. And joining us now here on Warriors Wrap-Up, it's Joe Shasky, who you'll hear from in about 10 hours here on 95.7 The Game. Shasky, how about that Warriors win, huh? 118-112 over the Celtics in Boston. How you feeling?
Grandy man! I'm telling you right now, this team is night and day different from last year. I know we tried to fool ourselves into thinking that last year early on it looked like it looked this. No. This team moves their feet. How about the defensive effort on blitzing and doubling Jason Tatum? Now, Jason got his. The great players do. But you make them work for it. Derek White hit shots in this game. The Warriors were dead in the water in the first quarter. Could not throw the ball into the ocean if they were lining a boat in the middle of the Pacific. And then Buddy Hield subbed in with GP2, and I thought they flipped the game. And there were tons of swings clearly in that second half. You referenced it in that fourth quarter. But I got to say, this is a signature win. I've been watching this team my entire life. Not all games during the regular season have meaning. Yeah. This is one of those signature feather in the cap games, and I know Jaylen Brown's not there. Let the Kendrick Perkins of the world and the haters, let them come up with excuses for the Warriors. Your eyes don't deceive you. Buddy Hield has fresh legs. He's moving without the ball. He's picking up guys in the backcourt on defense. He's actually active. And Draymond, let's give Draymond and Kevon Looney a lot of credit. Draymond couldn't hit a bucket early in this game. And you know what? Good for him for staying aggressive. How about those logs to TJD at the start of the third quarter? I don't know. I loved how this game went. And, Grandy, this was exactly what I wanted. I wanted this team to take a shot across the jaw and then fight and claw back in a tight game on the road with all their studs. And you know what? There's a ton to clean up.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, I was tossing this around earlier, Shasky. This is a game, even if the first three quarters went the way that they did, exactly as the way they did tonight. If that happened last year, the Warriors lose this game, no doubt. They get down by 7 in the final 6.5 to go. They probably lose by 15. It is a different feeling. It's a different belief. There's different fight in this basketball team, and you got contributions from everybody. I mean, you mentioned Hield. That's an obvious one. GP2, you're spot on there. He came in the first quarter and changed the game with his defense, and the pick and rolls with Steph got him 2 easy dunks. It took the lid off the bucket. Everything else kind of flowed downhill from there. I mean, Kyle Anderson, 3 consecutive made threes as well in this game in the first half. You're getting contributions from everybody, and this is a Warrior team, Shasky, that can even survive down a couple of key players. Podziemski, not even available tonight. And I know you mentioned Jaylen Brown. That's a big loss for the Celtics, but let's not pretend like this is a full-strength Warrior team either. They have got guys that can beat you on any given night.
I totally agree. Again, I'm a big believer in don't try to fake it with what your eyes are seeing. My eyes are seeing a team that likes playing with each other, that looks so much more quick to the ball. I'm talking about shooting gaps, second chance points, hustling. I mean, there was a play tonight. I forget who got jammed at the rim. It might have been TJD. And then the ball goes right back into his hands. He just goes right back up with it. Like the relentlessness from this team when things aren't going their way. I know it's early. It's a long season. You know, you need to stack 4, 5, 6 of these wins by about February for everybody to truly believe. But this was maybe one of the best wins in what, 2 or 3 years? I'm dead serious.
Yeah, no, you're right. I mean, it's up there, no doubt. I mean, if you talked about Jaylen Brown not being available, and that obviously hurts the Celtics, but let's not pretend, Shasky, that without Jaylen Brown, they're still not maybe the best team in the NBA. I mean, they put up 41 points in the third quarter, and you could just tell how much this game meant to them, but the Warriors in the fourth to turn around and took it right away from them. This game mattered so much to both, and you're spot on. Sometimes it's hard to find out when teams really care about regular season games. This had the feel of a postseason game, and the Warriors apparently have the Celtics number in those postseason type environments.
I'll leave you with this. I freaking hate Boston. God, I hate them. All the whining, all the crying. We played Derek White in the Olympics. Like, you're acting like we iced out all the Boston guys. Like, yeah, newsflash to Jason Tatum. You're not better than Kevin Durant currently. Like, that's not a knock on you. Someone's got to sit, bro. Like, it's LeBron and KD were ahead of you in the pecking order. They played Drew Holiday. They played Derek White. Like, this thing that, like, Steve Kerr is the worst coach in the world. They won the gold medal. Yep. Shut the hell up and be thankful you were on the team. I hate Boston. Grandy, you're kicking ass tonight. Have a good one. Go Dubs.
Appreciate it. Thanks, Shasky. You'll hear from him on the Morning Roast alongside Bonte tomorrow morning. That's less than 10 hours away. Shasky's got to get some sleep, but appreciate him tuning in as we continue to react to a Warriors win in Boston. Shasky's right. I mean, undoubtedly the best win of the season. This might be the Warriors' best win since Game 7 in Sacramento in the postseason in 2023. First round of the postseason, like off the top of my head. It might be that one. It might be that long ago since the Warriors have had a win better than the one they just got tonight. Let's continue on the phone lines. Up next is Mark in Petaluma. Mark, what's up? You're on Warriors Wrap-Up with Mark Randy here on 95.7 The Game. How you doing, Mark?
I'm doing great, thanks. I wanted to talk about and have you talk about Klay Thompson versus Buddy Hield. You know, I love Klay to death. 37 points in one quarter. Oh my God! But you know, after his injuries and he couldn't play defense like he used to, he was. I've heard some people say that he was, you know, just average, and his shooting got super streaky and sometimes totally undependable, and he wants some consistency. I think, and I don't know a lot about Buddy Hield, except for, you know, obviously he's, as Roy said, he's made the most threes in the past 5 years or something like that. So I'm really thinking that I am so glad Klay left, and I wish him well. I wish him all the luck in the world, and I hope he has a great season. but I think Buddy Hield is probably better for the Warriors at this point. I think his shooting is probably going to be more consistent, and the effort he's putting forth is really great. And Clay was a good guy in the clubhouse too. And it seems like Buddy Hield doesn't have the same personality as Clay. He's not a big jokester, I guess, but he seems like a really solid guy, a really good teammate. So I don't know if you can draw some comparisons to both of them, good and bad. And before I go, I just want to mention from the last caller, the Warriors are playing like they used to. They're running a lot more. And for the life of me, I don't know why Kerr went away from that. There's probably some really good reasons if I think too much or a little bit more. But I just love running gun basketball. If you can get an advantage, easy baskets, that's the way to play. In a lot of respects, you wear the other team out. You have a good depth. You can take advantage of that. And you get easy buckets. Anyway, I'm going to leave it up to you to comment on that stuff. Thank you.
Yeah, appreciate the call, Mark. First of all, I'll take the second part first, and then I'll get to your Clay and Buddy Hield part of it. I think the Warriors have identified an area where they can be better than most teams in the league, and it is, first of all, with their switchability defensively. And I think that's what gave the Celtics so much trouble in the first half. They kind of figured it out, and they made a couple of schematic changes, and we can get into that in a little bit. But what made the Celtics so good last year, first of all, they have just a lot of good basketball players. They have a lot of good three-point shooters, and they lead the league in three-point attempts, and they're darn near lead the league in three-point efficiency and, for three-point field goal percentage. But they also just have so many guys that are like between 6'7" and 6'10", 6'6" and 6'9", right? They have a lot of long, athletic guys. And in today's wing-powered league, if you can just throw out there like four guys or all five guys that are like 6'6" or taller, and all that are long and have maybe longer wingspans, you can just switch every single screen, every single pick play. You can switch, and you don't feel like you have a lot of mismatches on the court, right? Like, you don't feel like you get in a situation where you've got Steph Curry on Jason Tatum, right? Like, that's a mismatch. That is barbecue chicken, as Shaq would say on the NBA on TNT, right? Like, a team like the Celtics who throw at you Drew Holiday and Derek White and Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum and Kristaps Porzingis when he's healthy, like, that is a fearsome fivesome, because you could have Drew Holiday guard kind of 1 through 4, 1 through 3 for sure, if not 1 through 4. You can have Derek White guard 1 through 4. You could have Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum guard 1 through 4. You have got so much defensive versatility, and it makes it really hard for offenses to kind of find moments where they can have an advantage on a given play. That's what the Warriors have now. And I know I'm kind of getting away from Mark's point, but I think also when you have that length and that versatility and that ability to switch, you get more deflections, you get more stops, you're getting more rebounds, and that leads you to be able to get out and run. I think part of what hurt the Warriors 2 years ago, when they were like the fastest, it was last year when the Warriors I think they needed to be a little bit faster, like they were 2 years ago when they were the fastest team in the league. They probably needed to be a little bit slower then. Last year, they overcorrected and were too slow, in my opinion. Part of the reason why they were too slow was because they just didn't get consistent enough stops on defense. You got to get stops. You got to get deflections. You got to force turnovers. You got to get rebounds. Without any of that, you can't get out and run. Like, how often do you get a fast break bucket off a made basket? Very rare. It happens, but it's rare. You need the stops. So with the defense like it is right now, you can get out and run more often. I think to Mark's point, that's where the Warriors have identified they have an advantage over most in the league. With the Kumingas of the world, with the Wiggins of the world, Trace Jackson-Davis runs the ball really well. We know what Draymond does with the ball in his hands on the fast break. Steph Curry is a fast break nightmare because he'll take a body away from the defender guarding the ball, dribbling down the floor because they're so scared he's going to pull from 30 feet out in transition. That's where the Warriors have an advantage, I think, over a lot of teams in the league right now. It is their ability to get out and run and score in a number of different ways. And they can do that with like 8 different combinations of players. Like they have a lot of ways to get into that this season. Now to Mark's first point, the Buddy Hield, Klay Thompson conversation, I think a couple of things can be true at the same time. First of all, Klay Thompson is a franchise great, all-time great, and there will never be another Klay. And I think Klay is, when you open up the Wikipedia page of the Warriors organization, when it's all said and done, Klay will be one of the first 3 faces that you see. Like, Klay Thompson is Warriors basketball, and no one will ever be able to replace him. There will never be another Klay, both as a player and as a person. Klay is maybe the most unique person that has been a part of this Warriors organization. That can all be true. But I think it can also just be true that they reached the part where they had to part ways, Klay and the organization. And I think we can honestly say, given how things are going, it might have been a win for both sides that they parted. And maybe this is just what needed to happen for both Klay and the Warriors. Now, if the Warriors did not find a replacement, a substitution for Klay, then it was going to look ugly. They needed more shooting, and they got it with Buddy Hield, and he has been awesome. Now, I will say, we have gotten really good Buddy for the majority of these 8 games. The numbers will suggest, and his history suggests, that he's not going to shoot the ball as well as he has so far, and that's okay, because to our caller's point, to Mark and Petaluma's point, he's doing a lot of other things well. And Shasky brought it up as well. He's running the floor. He's defending eagerly. He's doing a whole lot more than just shooting the 3 ball. Now, he's doing that really well, but he's doing more than just that. So, again, we can give Klay all of the respect that he deserves, and he deserves every single bit of it. The Warriors do not win those championships without Klay Thompson and what he did on both ends of the floor. And he will have his jersey retired. He will have a statue in front of Chase Center, and he will take his place alongside Steph Curry and Draymond Green as, maybe the best trio that this league has ever seen. Like, that is written in stone. That's what Klay Thompson means to this organization. But there's no doubt that the acquisition of Buddy Hield and saying bye to Klay Thompson seems to at least have had some sort of positive impact on the way the Warriors feel, the way they feel as a basketball team. And that can't be undersold. It's really, really important for any basketball team to feel good about themselves. And the Warriors right now, no doubt they feel good about themselves, and they're 7-1. They're 5-0 on the road, and they just went into Boston and beat the defending champs on their home floor, 118-112. On the parquet floor at TD Garden, they got the job done, 118-112. Okay, back out to the phone lines we go here on Warriors Wrap Up. Mark Randy with you on 95.7 The Game. Up next is TJ in Oakland, and TJ is a Celtics fan, huh? TJ, you're a Celtics fan? How'd you feel about that game tonight, TJ?
It was a great measuring stick. Thanks for taking the call. It was really good to see the Warriors kind of come out and put a type of defense that the Celtics hadn't seen this year. And obviously there was definitely some, emotional side when every time Tatum got the ball the first quarter, they just double teamed him and then they'd switch it off. And yes, there was some detriment, obviously, with Jaylen Brown not being there. But the energy tonight that the Warriors showed was definitely more than Celtics had seen this year. So it was a great way for them and the coach to make an adjustments, like you said. But in the end, the Warriors just came on strong and they started hitting them and punching them in the mouth. And so it was definitely a good game for the Warriors. I give them their props. Now, to your previous callers, talking about the run and gun, tonight wasn't a run and gun. Tonight was strictly half court. The score was 24-25 or something like that after the first quarter. So there was no fast break. So this wasn't a run and gun game tonight. And the other gentleman who hates Boston, I get it, but Tatum deserved at least 30 seconds in the gold medal round, right? Like you're going to tell me, no one's saying he's not better. He's better than Durant, but you're not going to sit on the bench the entire game of an Olympic gold medal and not play him. And if it was reversed and it was Boston Celtics coach doing up against Curry sitting on the bench and make him sit, like that would have been a whole different situation. And again, Jaylen Brown didn't make the team. You're going to tell me the NBA Finals MVP is not? That's the lack of respect, and that's what's motivating them this year. And true to the form either way. This way, all the Warriors came out and played tonight, and made sure they locked it down. And Tatum, still at 32 or whatever, but definitely Warriors played great D tonight that got them over the hump.
Yeah, appreciate the call, TJ. 32 for Tatum. You're right. I get your point, and I get the way that Boston fans feel, and I think maybe some non-Boston fans feel this way as well. I mean, it's been a talking point all summer. Bottom line, Steve Kerr's job is to try to go out and win a gold medal, and he got it done. I don't think the Celtics head coach and the Curry comparison works, because the way that the Team USA's roster is constructed, they're so deep at wing that who are you playing Tatum over? Who are you playing Steph over? Like, you're not starting. I mean, again, apologies to Boston. This guy actually played. You're not playing Derek White or Drew Holiday over Stephen Curry. You're playing them in tandem a lot of the times. Steph Curry is your starting point guard. Kevin Durant's your starting 3. LeBron James are starting 4. Like, that just is the fact of the matter. And you've got a lot of other guys coming off the bench as well. Was I surprised that Tatum played as little as he did? Yeah, but, I mean, they got the gold medal. And it wasn't easy either, by the way. And even when Tatum did get in, it's not like he was tearing the cover off the ball. So, I mean, this is a conversation that happened in the summer, and we don't need to go through it and relitigate it all right now. I'll just say this. Steve Kerr, in his first Olympics as coach of Team USA, I can guarantee you he was not going through some petty reason that he didn't play Boston Celtics players. He was just doing what he thought was best to try to help the team win a gold medal. And maybe he was wrong in that. Maybe playing Tatum consistently would have made it easier for them to win it all. And we can blame Coach Kerr if that turned out to be true. Unfortunately, we will never know. But I guarantee you, Steve Kerr, in his first Olympics as head coach, was not playing some pity game trying to spurn the Celtics and their fans because of, I don't know, some rivalry he feels. Like, that's never, ever happening, under Steve Kerr. But the bottom line is the Warriors got the win today, 118-112. They knocked off the Celtics. Tatum was good in the second half, but the Warriors' defense was elite on Jason Tatum in the first half. And I think that Andrew Wiggins and his performance deserves a ton of love. Draymond Green, man, he's still just the defensive ace that this team needs night in and night out. The Warriors basically mirrored Draymond's minutes with Tatum's, even though Draymond wasn't always on Tatum. In fact, it was more so Wiggins. You have Draymond on the floor whenever the opposing team's best player is on the floor, and it makes everything else easy, even if Draymond isn't guarding their best player, because you get help from Draymond. Draymond can direct everybody else, and when Draymond's out there, it's kind of like Steph Curry on offense or like Tom Brady, the quarterback, makes everyone around him better. Draymond is that, but for defense. So bring Draymond in when Tatum's in, still make Wiggins be the guy to guard him, and you'll have a better shot at slowing him down. And they did that in the first half. Now, in the second half, the Celtics adjusted. The Celtics adjusted big time. And the way that they did it, the way that I saw it, was the Warriors, when the Celtics would run pick and roll, whether it was Holiday the ball handler, Derek White the ball handler, or anybody else, even Tatum the ball handler, and they'd bring up, whether it was Keita, who, honestly, a really nice pickup, Neemias Keita for the Celtics, 4th year in the league, has spent some time in the G League, mostly with the Kings, or most recently with the Kings, if memory serves, and he's been a good 5. They bring up the big to set a screen. Sometimes it was Horford, sometimes it was Keita, sometimes it was Hauser right off the bench, or anybody else. And they would bring up to do the pick and roll. And meanwhile, while that pick and roll is happening, they would have a player on the right or left block set a down screen for one of the other players on the floor. But the way that the Celtics adjusted was instead of setting that down screen as the pick and roll is happening, they would just set the man in charge of setting that down screen to just flare out to either the left or right wing as the pick and roll is happening. What happens is, say it's Looney guarding Horford on the pick and roll, Horford setting the screen on the ball handler. Looney then has to go and try to pick up the ball handler as the pick and roll is happening. You got to switch or at least show so he doesn't get a wide open three. And that sometimes it's Tatum, sometimes it's White, right? You got good 3-point shooters out there. And then as the guy running out to the perimeter on the wing shows himself outside for a look at three, his defender follows, but his defender suddenly in a bind because now you have to help off the roll man who's rolling back towards the basket, and you feel like you got to stay with him because your defense is in a situation where they got to deal with the pick and roll. But now because you're thinking about dealing with the roll man, the guy that you were just defending and following across the lane is wide open from the outside for a three. And that play happened like 5 times in the third quarter. That was the adjustment for the Celtics to get away from the Warriors' blitzing action from the first half that limited them to just 40 points. I'm not sure I'm doing a great job describing it to you right now. I did retweet a video that shows an example of it. You can find it on Twitter at Mark Grandi. That's Mark with a C, Grandi. And it shows an example of it. But the Celtics worked that to perfection in the third quarter, where they scored 41 points after only 40 in the first half. And they rode that to a lead, up by 7 with 6.5 to go in the fourth quarter. And then the Warriors turned it on and ultimately won this basketball game via a final score of 118-112. I thought the Warriors bounced back in this game in an awesome way. This is not a game that they win last year. You remember what happened last year in Boston? 140-88. 140-88. The Warriors lost by 52 points. And that was just, 8 months ago? 8 months and 3 days ago. March 3rd, 2024. 8 months and 3 days ago, the Warriors lost by 52 points on this same floor, the floor that they went into tonight, and won 118-112 over the Boston Celtics. Okay, 888-957-9570. Still got more time for your calls here on Warriors Wrap-Up. It's Mark Grandi with you. We'll also check in on your text messages on the Comcast Business text line as the night moves along. But right now, let's hear from Coach Kerr on Warriors Wrap-Up as Warriors head coach Steve Kerr addressed the media post-game tonight. Final score 118-112 in Boston. The Dubs are now 7-1. They're 5-0 on the road, and this is undoubtedly statement win, signature win, whichever adjective you want to tack on to win. It qualifies here. The Warriors knock off the defending NBA champions on their own home floor, 118-112. Here's Warriors head coach Steve Kerr post-game tonight addressing the media. There's Steve Kerr post-game earlier tonight in Boston after the Warriors knocked off the Celtics 118-112. I mean, he's spot on there about a couple of things. First of all, it was the offensive rebound for the Celtics that helped them get back in this basketball game. They had 0 second chance points. 0 in the first half. And despite all of the Warriors' offensive struggles, especially early, that was the reason why they had an 11-point lead at halftime. 0 second chance points at half did Boston. They had 14 in the third quarter alone, and it continued into the fourth quarter, and it was a big reason why the Celtics had a 7-point lead with 6:45 to go. But then the Warriors just had clutch play after clutch play. Warriors down 7. Steph Curry checks in. He gets fouled on a 3, makes all 3, then hits a 3-pointer. The Warriors suddenly have a 1-point lead, 97-96, about 4:45 to go in the fourth. After that, there was an epic Gary Payton II hustle play. This is the one Steve Kerr was referencing just a couple of minutes ago, where he dives on the floor, gets the basketball. He can't quite get it out to keep the play going, so the Warriors call a timeout. Out of the timeout, they run a nice play, and it turns into a Wiggins fadeaway free throw line jumper. Extends the Warriors' lead with 4 minutes left. Then the Warriors get a stop, and what do? It's what we talked about earlier. They push the tempo. They go back the other way, and Buddy Hield, a sweet reverse in the fast break against White, a hell of a defender. Warriors lead by 3 with about 3 minutes to go. Then Curry drives and scores. This is the one where if you were watching the replay on either NBC Sports Bay Area or ESPN, you could see him flex and scream as he gets that one to go. It felt like a little bit more of a postseason game than anything else in that one for the Warriors. And at that point, it was a 16-4 Warrior run to put them up 104-99 with 2.5 minutes left. 16-4 run over 4 minutes and 15 seconds. And then something else that Steve Kerr pointed out, after a Tatum and one on a fade away from the free throw line, kind of stopped the Warriors' run for a moment and got the Celtics back in it. Draymond airballed the three-pointer. It might have gotten blocked in the corner. Whatever happened, it caromed or just fell right to Looney, an easy putback. And then Looney, another offensive rebound and putback off a Curry missed layup. On consecutive possessions, it was Looney on the glass that got the Warriors 4 clutch points. They probably do not win this basketball game without those 4 clutch points from Kevon Looney. And it was something that did the Warriors in the third quarter, those second chance points. It was a big reason why the Warriors won in the fourth quarter, those second chance points. And so in total second chance points, 20-16 in favor of the Celtics. Considering that the Celtics had 14 second chance points in the third quarter alone, the fact that the Warriors only lost that battle by 4 points, pretty darn impressive. Pretty darn impressive. Then after those Looney put-back buckets, which were so important, it was the Buddy Hield three-pointer from the right wing on the pass from Steph. That just felt like a classic Steph to Clay moment, right? Like there's been so many of those in transition. The Warriors have the defense scattered. They're in the middle of a little bit of a run. The road crowd is groaning because the opponents just missed on the other end. Curry has the ball in his hands. He's pushing the tempo. The defense is freaking out because the best shooter in history has the ball in his hands. And you kind of forget about who's running and filling the lane down the right side. It had always been Clay. Now it's Buddy. Steph finds him. Buddy hits the right wing 3. You're up by 7 at that point with 47 seconds left. I know Derek White, I think, immediately made a 3 after that. Then Steph fouled Pritchard shooting a 3. It kind of kept them in it, but really it was that Buddy 3 that kind of ended the game. Up 7, 47 seconds left. You just needed to play smart the rest of the way. The Warriors didn't play totally smart, but they were smart enough, and they made their free throws. They won the basketball game, but it was that Steph to Buddy transition 3 that kind of ended the basketball game tonight, and that was a sight to see. Certainly, considering all the Warriors' struggles in close games last year, they played the most clutch games in the league a season ago. They didn't have a great record. It was hovering around 500 all year. It was good to see them pull this one out on the road against the defending champs, and they did it really with a balanced effort. I mean, Steph had 27, You got 16 from both Wiggins and Buddy Hield. You had 11 from Kyle Anderson. Pardon me. Yeah, 11 from Kyle Anderson, 10 from Jonathan Kuminga, and then you had 9 from Moses Moody and 8 from Trace Jackson Davis, also 9 from Draymond Green. So you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 players scoring 8 or more points for the Warriors tonight. If that is not the definition of balanced and strength in numbers, then I don't know what is. 888-957-9570 is the number. We got time for more of your calls here on Warriors Wrap Up. Mark Randy with you. Up next is Eric in Millbrae who wants to react to this Warriors win. What's up, Eric? You're on Warriors Wrap Up on 95.7 The Game. How you feeling?
Hey, what's up, man? That was a hell of a win tonight. Started off like, look, Warriors coming out struggling there. Looked like the Celtics were going to pummel them, coming out with a vengeance there. And luckily, defensively, they locked in, were able to keep back in the game, and really took over in that second quarter. Really, we know how hostile it is in Boston. With that home crowd, the Celtics don't lose at home rarely. So I thought it was really impressive after they got down early to really get back in the game. Second half, just really impressed how the depth of this team really took off. Obviously, Curry was Curry, but I really thought the bench really got there with GP2, as you mentioned, and Draymond doing it all there, offensively and defensively. Wiggins getting it going there a little bit there, and then Looney, I thought was huge down the stretch there with a couple of those putbacks when it looked like the Celtics were going to rally and really take over the game there at the end of the fourth quarter. And then obviously the Curry pass to Hield, really the nail in the coffin to put the Celtics away. So all in all, just an impressive win. All in all, we know the Celtics really wanted to really blow the Warriors off their home court, and they couldn't do it. And Warriors playing great basketball. Really showed right now they're playing as well as anybody. And hats off to them. And it doesn't get any easier because after this, you're playing 2 undefeated teams back-to-back in Cleveland, OKC. So we'll see what they got. And it should be 2 good games, hopefully, and 2 wins. But all in all, really impressed with those Warriors. And keep it going, man, because this is really fun to watch. Thanks for the time.
Yeah, appreciate it, Eric. And I think you're spot on there. I mean, certainly it does not get any easier on Friday. You've got Cleveland on the road, then on Sunday at Oklahoma City. Looking at the scores right now, I know Cleveland won earlier today. Yeah, they won on the road in New Orleans, 131-122. So the Cavs still undefeated at 9-0. However, Eric's saying you got 2 undefeateds coming up. That is no longer accurate. The Thunder lose for the first time this year on the road in Denver tonight. That game went final just a little bit ago. It was a dogfight, 124-122. The Nuggets came out on top, a big win early in the year for the Nuggets, who had kind of come out of the break, out of the start of the season a little bit slow. Jokic was awesome. Jokic, how about this? 23 points, 19 rebounds, 16 assists for Nikola Jokic tonight to lead the Nuggets to a 124-122 win. Loss aside for the Thunder, they're 7-1, still one of the best teams in the NBA, and that's who the Warriors have coming up over the next 2. However, as we look at the rest of this road trip, and it really continues when you get back home because you got Dallas, which is the team that was in the finals last year, Memphis then at home. They are a much better basketball team this year than last year. The Warriors could lose to both Cleveland and OKC, and this would still be a successful road trip. Honestly. And I'm not waving the white flag on Cleveland and OKC. The Warriors can turn this from a really good road trip to an amazing road trip if they just win one of the next 2. Like if you go 2-1 against Boston, Cleveland, OKC to close out a 5-game trip, and you go 4-1 on that trip, that is amazing. 5-0 seems like darn near impossible. If you do that, I mean, it's one of the best road trips in franchise history, and they've had some amazing ones back in the day when they just never lost to anybody. Honestly, coming into this, I would have taken a 2-3 road trip. They're already 3-0. Like, just handling business against Houston and Washington kind of locked this up as, all right, you took care of business. You go 2-3 against Houston, Washington, Boston, Cleveland, and OKC, I'll take it. 3-2 is great. 4-1 is amazing. 5-0 is like, all right, that's unbelievable. Don't mess with me. Like, don't get my hopes up. 2-3 for me would have been okay. I would have been fine with it. They're already 3-0. If you just take one of the next 2, oh man, you're heading back home 8-2. You are feeling awesome about yourself. Awesome. awesome. So the Warriors, I think you're now playing with house money the rest of this trip. Now, you'd love to get one. You'd love to get both. But even if you can't, I mean, these are two really good teams. It's at the end of a long road trip. It's going to be tough, but tonight was also very, very tough, and the Warriors got the job done. 888-957-9570 is the number to call. It's Mark Randy with you on Warriors Wrap-Up as the Dubs knock off the Celtics 118-112. I think one other thing that we're learning about these Warriors, and we knew it, we didn't know it, but we've seen it leading up to this point of the season. The Warriors defensively are just different right now. And whether that's because of the additions or if it's because of, I don't know, refreshed energy and renewed enthusiasm, whatever the reason is, the Warriors defensively are just miles better than they were last year. And we'll see maybe how this looks, say, I don't know, if Draymond Green ever misses any time, because he's obviously still the linchpin defensively. But Draymond Green and this Warriors defense is good enough to carry the Warriors throughout this season. And you know, shooting is going to come and go. We talked about Buddy Hield. You're on an awesome Buddy Hield kick right now. There will be a stretch where he's not shooting the ball as well as he is. Now, I think he's doing enough other things to where he can still be a productive and positive player when that happens. Like, part of the issue with Klay Thompson last year was when he wasn't hitting his shots, he was just a net negative for you. Because, and it's no fault of his own, his injuries sapped him of his defensive ability. And also, you know, just getting up there in age. Like, he was nowhere near the defender that he once was. And when he wasn't shooting the ball well, it's no secret, he seemed to kind of sulk a little bit, right? Emotionally, it was rough on him. It seems like Buddy Hield is the kind of player who, even when his shot isn't falling, you know, unless it lasts like, I don't know, a couple of months, then it might have an impact. But it seems like he's still going to run the floor. He's still going to give effort defensively. He's never going to be confused for a great defender, but I have been amazed by his willingness to put in the effort defensively. And as long as that stays, as long as him running the floor stays, as long as him being a positive influence in the locker room stays, and we had a caller earlier, I think it was Mark in Petaluma, who wanted to compare and contrast Klay and Buddy, and talked about how, you know, Buddy never is going to have the personality that Klay does, and that's true. I mean, there's no one out there like Klay. Buddy, in his own right, though, is that infectious personality. I mean, he was on with Jim Rome earlier this week. In fact, I think it was yesterday. And actually, I'm going to play this here for you. Cam, if you need to put my hotkey page up from in there, just spot that up for me. But I can play it on my end. Buddy Hield was on with Jim Rome yesterday and was asked if he puts any pressure on himself to try to replace Klay Thompson. And here's what he said.
I always wanted to play in this style of play, you know, and all I know how to do is be Buddy, you know, not trying to be Klay or trying to replace him. Just be Buddy and add my strengths to this team, which is my movement and my energy, my charisma, and just being me. And once you come in with the right intent and not trying to fill or replace anybody, like, good things will happen, good things will follow. That's
an amazing answer from Buddy Hield. No, I don't put any pressure on me to replace him. I'm just going to be me, and my strength is my movement, my energy, and my charisma. Like, who talks about their charisma when you're asked about, like, what you can bring to a basketball team? And that's what Buddy Hield has brought. You ask anybody on this team about Buddy Hield, and maybe the first thing that they say after, maybe, you know, he's just an awesome basketball player, one of the best shooters ever, is you can't be around Buddy without having a smile on your face. He makes everybody smile. And I think after what the Warriors have been through the last couple of years, that is, you cannot overstate how important that is. The Warriors' last 2 seasons, whether or not it's been awkward, you know, in the locker room for them, there's no doubt that they have been the talk of the league for all the wrong reasons, right? You had the Draymond and Jordan Poole thing. You had Klay Thompson, who was very publicly upset multiple times, not at really anybody in particular, but just at his reality. You had Draymond Green's suspensions. You had Draymond getting ejected in Orlando and Steph Curry tearing up on the court, right? Like the Warriors were being talked about the last 2 years for all of the wrong reasons. And whether or not it was awkward for them inside the locker room, I'm sure all of the outside noise being talked about weighed on them. And I'm sure it has to feel so nice to kind of have that weight lifted off of them. And for Buddy Hield to talk about his charisma being, one of his important attributes, that is invaluable for the Warriors. And it seems to be permeating really every inch of this Warriors team right now. I think that is an amazing answer from Buddy Hield, who's still new to this team, but feels like he is one of the more important pieces, not just on the basketball court where he's been awesome, but in terms of keeping this like a well-running, a smooth machine right now. Buddy Hield is a big part of that. All right, few more minutes here on Warriors Wrap Up. Let's sneak in one more call. Up next is Al in Alameda. Al, what's up? You're on Warriors Wrap Up with Mark Randy at 95.7 The Game. How you doing, Al?
Hi, thank you. Thank you for taking my call here. Hey, I kind of recognized this in the beginning right away of the game. And she got to do, what goes through my mind, it got to do with the Olympic, with Tatum. Right away, I noticed that I think Steve Kerr wanted to double up on Tatum right away. He doesn't want him to go crazy and get embarrassed. Like, he would score like 40 points. I know he scored 30 points plus, I think. And you don't want to get beat by this guy. I never seen the Warriors double up on top of the key there so much, like 6 times, I think, or 6 to 8 times. I never seen that before, and that got to my mind. I said, nope, they don't want Tatum to go crazy out there and double up on him and give up the ball. That's one thing I'm getting. But second is Buddy Hield. I mean, I think I kind of forgot about Klay Thompson like I did with Monte Ellis. This guy is just, automatic. He would score right away and give the defense and the players a real relax right away. You know, I never seen him that much to play back then because he was not in our channel. Now I see him a lot now in the last 7 games. I really appreciate what he's doing for the Warriors. It's a good lift, and Steve Kerr, he's pushing the right button right now. I know we only have 6'9", 6'9", 6'9". We don't have a 7-footer, but we're doing good. I know it's only 7 or 8 games. We beat the defending champion. So I'm going towards hey, is this the Warriors back in 2014, 2015, young legs? So I don't know. Thank you for taking my call.
Yeah, appreciate it, Al. I think there's a lot of you right now who feel that way about the Buddy Hield and Klay Thompson conversation. No one is ever going to replace Klay. But there is a different vibe around the team right now, and that is undeniable. And Buddy Hield has been a gigantic part of that. And, say the Warriors lost Klay Thompson and did not get Buddy Hield, and it was, just D'Anthony Melton and Kyle Anderson as the returns. Maybe they make one other move, but it's not Buddy Hield. Like, this team is not 7-1. There's no doubt they don't beat the Pelicans the first time they play. They probably don't beat the Pelicans the second time they play. They don't beat Houston. That's for sure. They might still beat Washington. They don't win tonight without Buddy Hield. Like, Buddy Hield has been a reason why the Warriors have won, 4 or 5 of their 7 wins so far this year. Obviously, there's other reasons. You don't win with a handful of players. You won without Steph the 3 games that he missed. But you need a little bit more to get over that hump, and Buddy Hield has been one of the reasons why. I think what stands out for the Warriors overall through 8 games, they've already survived some injuries, not just survived, but thrived through their injuries, 3-0 without Steph. Melton hasn't played in a while now. Melton played the first 3 games of the year, hasn't played since, so he's missed the last 5 for the Warriors. Wiggins missed a couple. In those games, when those players have missed, the Warriors are undefeated. They're 5-0. And it might get to a point where when everyone's back and healthy, you kind of have a problem on your hands because you've got too many guys to play. But right now they're deep enough. And, the quote-unquote strength in numbers, they got it. And they can survive guys being out. You're 1-0 when Podziemski doesn't play. You're 3-0 when Steph doesn't play. You're 2-0 when Wiggins doesn't play. You're 5-0 when Melton doesn't play. Like, the Warriors have the depth to make this thing work and survive injuries. Now, if you're talking about a long-term injury to Steph or a long-term injury to Draymond or maybe even a long-term injury to Wiggins, it's probably a different story. But you got guys missing a couple of games here, a couple of games there. This Warrior team is deep enough to get through that. Now, if they're all healthy, maybe they never will be, but if they're all healthy, you might have a little bit of a problem because you got too many guys. But when you have some guys missing time like they do right now, it is a great problem to have. They're missing 2 rotation pieces, and they still played 11 guys tonight. No one in the NBA does that. No one. Nobody. It's wild. All right, final thoughts here on the Warriors wrap-up. We got to get to crashing the boards, which is brought to you by Chilton Auto Body, the Bay Area leader in collision repair. This might be the easiest one I've had to hand out so far this year. It's Kevon Looney. Kevon Looney was crashing the boards all night tonight. He finished with 10 rebounds, which led everybody in this basketball game. 10 rebounds in 16 minutes. 10 rebounds in 16 minutes for Looney. None bigger than the 2 offensive rebounds. He had 6 offensive rebounds in total, but the 2 he had in consecutive possessions in the fourth quarter that led to put back lay-ins for him. Looney was awesome in this game. He crashed the boards all night long. 10 rebounds in 16 minutes tonight on the court for Kevon Looney. As a result, he gets our crashing the boards honor, which is brought to you by Chilton Auto Body, the Bay Area leader in collision repair. All right, that'll do it for us on Warriors Live tonight. Up next for the Warriors, Friday at Cleveland. 4:30 is the tip time, which means pregame coverage with Willard and Dibbs begins at 3:30. I'll be with you for Warriors Live whenever that game ends. Probably be over around 6:30 or so. I've got you covered probably around 7 or so for Warriors wrap-up on Friday on 95.7 The Game. Okay, for Cam Williams, for Chris O'Connell, for Willard and Dibbs, who took us through Warriors Live earlier today, for Tim Roy and company on the road in Boston. My name is Mark Randy signing off. Thanks so much for tuning in. We'll break this game down and a whole lot more all day tomorrow here on 95.7 The Game. But for now, it's Mark Randy saying good night. We'll talk later on 95.7 The Game.
You hear that? That's the...